anti-Israeli rallies around Canada, around the Western world. And in Canada, we've seen the flag of Hamas's biggest backers, the Iranian regime, flying high. And this footage of thousands of Muslims lining the streets of Toronto to pray together was highlighted by another MP, an Iranian Belgian this time, Daria Safai, whose family, like yours and mine, escaped Iran. And she said, what looks peaceful and innocent is, she said, a political and social message. She called it a power display. What's your response to that? Is that something that should be concerning Canadians, these overt displays of people praying in the street?
100%. Absolutely. This should be very concerning. One of the ways that the terrorist Islamic regime in Iran, this Islamophobic regime, responds to pro-democracy Iranians within Iran who are fighting for freedom and democracy is they will take over their spaces and they will pray in front of them. And for a lot of people, they'll think, oh, well, they're praying, they're being peaceful, but it's not. This is a sign of conquest. This is a sign of power. And it is very concerning and it is very frightening to see these radical Islamofascist ideologies abusing the freedoms and the charter of rights and freedoms, the Canadian Constitution, to say that, oh, what's the problem? We're just praying on the street. No, you're not praying on the street. You are taking over the streets. You are not allowing peaceful Canadians to just walk through and use public spaces, and you are using this as a tool of colonialization and conquer within this radical Islamofascist ideology. And the really frustrating part is that when the Iranian diaspora speaks out about this, we're accused of being Islamophobic, we're accused of being racist, and it's not that at all. Like, this is the reality of Iranians. This is the literal reason why we came to Canada. It's to escape that terrorist flag you see right there, that Allahu Akbar flag.
There has been this bizarre alliance between the left and Islamists, which is, I think, going to end in tears for everybody, including the left eventually.
This radical Islamofascist ideology, sort of ingrained within Western democracies, is very concerning, not to us, but it should be very concerning to everyone who lives in Canada, Australia, United States, and in European countries.
Fundraising event, which is taking place at a hotel right behind us. The Prime Minister thinks that it is appropriate to host a fundraising event with $1,700 tickets for purchase, while his government continues to send arms to Israel on 1/6 of its ongoing genocide in Gaza. So our comment to the Liberal Party is that for the last 6 months we have seen Canadians protesting every single week against Israel's genocide in Gaza, and we are demanding that the Liberal Party, the Canadian government, stop selling arms to Israel and to call on the Israeli government to lift the siege on Gaza, which has been ongoing for over 16 years, turning Gaza into an open-air prison.
For the people of Palestine in Gaza, in Rafah, they are being shot dead from above, from the land, and from anywhere. And that's why we are here to say, Justin Trudeau, you are complicit in the ongoing genocide in Rafah, Gaza.
About using the Emergency Measures Act. I know it is not his preference, but if you don't, if there was never ever a moment for the Emergency Measures Act, Minister, is this not it? I hear all that, Minister, but how long are you giving the province to enforce what it announced on Friday? You've said enough is enough. Clearly, protesters don't care what you say.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Goldie, you've got your Prime Minister there, Justin Trudeau, who's still refusing to label Iran's Revolutionary Guard a terrorist organisation. Tell me about his response to this crisis and more broadly, how the country has changed under his reign.
So I know the Iranian Canadian diaspora has been calling for years to asking Justin Trudeau to list the IRGC as a terrorist entity, and he still refuses to do so. I'm sure you're aware of Ukraine flight PS752, which was shot down by the terrorist Islamic regime back in January of 2020. And that flight, when it was shot down by the Islamic regime in Iran, initially they denied it for 3 days. They initially said that this was just propaganda from the United States and Canada, by the way. And it was only when social media footage came out from Iranians within Iran that the Islamic regime finally had to concede that they were the ones who shot down this passenger flight, which killed 55 Canadian Iranians and also 30 permanent residents, Iranian permanent residents living in Canada, as well as, all 176 innocent passengers on board. And literally 1 month later, Prime Minister Trudeau was seen meeting with Zarif, who was the foreign affairs minister at the time, shook his hand, bowed his head to this Islamic regime terrorist, and pretended like everything was okay. And that was just such a huge insult to Iranian Canadians, because he is just so tone deaf. And he marches in our rallies, he chants, he's angry, he calls out the Islamic regime, and yet he's the prime minister and he does absolutely nothing about it. And it's very shameful to see this kind of behavior from the prime minister of a country that is supposed to stand up for freedom and democracy.
And yet we saw how he reacted to the truckers' protest and the manner in which those men mainly were attacked. There's so much to talk about. Goldie Gamani, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it.
Just us.
Tear gas! Tear gas, go in.
They're shooting off tear gas.
In the midst of a march, video shows 3 men climbing onto the front entrance of a Toronto hospital, one waving a Palestinian flag as some in the crowd chant below. Protest organizers deny they specifically targeted the hospital. Their demonstration against an Israeli military offensive into Rafah.
There was absolutely no prior conversation regarding Mount Sinai in any way.
Protester Ollie D'Agostino was there.
A common thing that happens at any kind of march or protest, these accusations of anti-Semitism, it's honestly ridiculous and shameful and unacceptable.
This Toronto emergency room doctor says regardless of the message, this protest went too far.
Mainstream media! Say the truth! Mainstream media! Say the truth!
On Wednesday, October 18th, 2023, a large crowd gathered for the second night in a row outside the Israeli consulate, the corner of Yonah and Bloor in Toronto, denouncing the Israeli government, but also claiming that people like Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau had blood on his hands.
This is genocide!
What this crowd never denounced was Hamas and the violence that they've inflicted. What this loud crowd never denounced was Hamas. They never denounced the killing of innocent Israelis or the damage, the pain, the violence that Hamas is bringing down upon their own people.
The violence began when supporters on the other side of the encampment breached the fencing surrounding it. Police quickly followed, making arrests. And while police battled the surge of protesters outside the fence, those inside grabbed wooden and plastic pallets and formed a barricade. Police on horseback were called to clear the perimeter on the outside of the park, while senior officers barked orders. Inside on the grass near the tent city next to the stadium, the scene was about to get wild as a police line formed confronting the now barricaded occupants. One arrest after another as they refused to leave. Both police and demonstrators using tear gas on.
Free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Jesus was Palestinian!
Jesus was Palestinian!
Jesus was Palestinian!
Jesus was Palestinian!
been disrupting the lives of too many Canadians. On Friday, Ontario invoked a state of emergency to respond to the blockades. This was the responsible and necessary thing to do. After discussing with Cabinet and caucus, after consultation with premiers from all provinces and territories, after speaking with opposition leaders, the federal government has invoked the Emergencies Act to supplement provincial and territorial capacity to address the blockades and occupations.
You have been weighed, you have been measured, and you have been found wanting.